Welcome back to the Alliance for Charitable Real Estate, CammieBaker.com here. I am your host, and the whole purpose of the Alliance for Charitable Real Estate, the big name is the International Alliance for the Charitable Gifting of Real Estate, is to bring together the three legs of the stool, as Bruce talks about. There's the leg that's the advisor. In my case, I talk a lot about the real estate agent. Could be a CPA, an attorney, financial advisor, someone who's advising their client on why and how this works. And then there is the client, which is the property owner slash donor, like Bob Tate. And then there's the nonprofits who simply need to smile and say thank you. However, let's talk about that for a moment as to why you're so passionate about sharing this message and why we feel like the nonprofits are missing the boat.
Sure. I suppose the reason for my passion, as I mentioned in the earlier segment, ever since I moved to Colorado, I've been very passionate about the environment here, the land, the water. It's a really unique state to live in. And as I also mentioned, I worked in the private sector for the bulk of my career. And I did not know until I went, as I mentioned, I worked part-time for Colorado Cattlemen's Agricultural Land Trust as special project manager. I really didn't have any idea about the struggles that nonprofits have vis-a-vis funding, having come from the private sector where, we had products that we got paid for marketing and selling. And sure, you always want to have more sales, but I worked for companies that really never really hit me that there are organizations out there that are doing all these good things that spend so much of their time on fundraising. Dedicated staff, the entire staff. You mentioned barbecues. Cattlemen's has an annual barbecue, which is a huge event and a great fundraiser for them. And the amount of work on the part of all the staff that goes into putting that event together is phenomenal and exhausting. So when I first met Bruce and I learned about the charitable gifting of real estate, I could see the scaling benefits because of the, just the amount of money that's typically tied up in a real estate property. And the fact that an organization like Bruce, which, as you mentioned, is itself a nonprofit, solely dedicated to accepting gifts of real estate on behalf of other nonprofits, conveys just a whole host of benefits to those nonprofits.
Let me just say that for those that are listening, you may be wondering, well, what is this? Who is this Bruce person? What is charitable? What is the Realty Gift Fund, etc.? What the Alliance is doing and why we are so excited to be talking to Bob is we have mutual missions. Bob has seen in your time all the struggles that the nonprofits have with the begging and the bake sales and the barbecues and the ballrooms and all that. And I too, over the last couple of years, have spent almost on a daily basis helping to raise funds for nonprofits and have seen the same struggle. So the Alliance is creating certification for realtors, real estate agents to get certified in the charitable gifting of real estate for a number of reasons. Number one, to totally educate. Here is what it is. Here's how you do it. Here's why it benefits the real estate agent. Here's why it benefits the property owner. Here's why it obviously benefits the nonprofit and also all the other businesses in the area, because what I bring to the table is also the marketing perspective of how to truly market this. And in Colorado, where you are, there are 40,000 real estate agents. And since we are only certifying 1% of realtors, we want this to be exclusive. We want it to be people who really care about the world and who really want to step into a whole new way of being seen and a unique sales proposition. And we want them to get the guaranteed full commission that they get from working through Realty Gift Fund. So for those who are listening and want to get more information, reach out to me, because of those 40,000 in Colorado, only 400 are going to be able to get certified. And then in New Mexico, where Bruce and Realty Gift Fund and Jay and all those good boys are, there's only 4,000 realtors, which means only 40 are going to get certified in that state. So you'll want to reach out to me sooner than later about that. So please continue. You notice the disparity, and
So about that time, I became acquainted with Bruce, and having the real estate background myself, I was fairly quick to understand the benefits of what he was trying to do, as well as his dedication. And I think key to prospective donors and to land trust, a couple things jump out to me. One is, and this is more for the benefit of the land trust or any nonprofit, is that there is absolutely no risk involved to the nonprofit to accept a gift of real estate. A lot of nonprofits will not accept these gifts because they think the only way to do it is that they have to take title to the property. In Bruce's case, that is not the process. Bruce takes title to the property, and then from the donor, and the donor, to his or her benefit, is then relieved of any further issue with respect to that property. It simply no longer belongs to them. Bruce then sets about disposing of the property, and when he's done so, dispenses the proceeds to the designated charities from the donor. So in this case, and I've been pitching our land trust in particular, so I'll stick with that example. So even though land trusts have some expertise in real estate, I think they should seriously consider this, because first of all, there's no risk to them, and secondly, it requires no staff time on their part. As you said, all they have to do is really accept the check and say thank you. The other key benefit that I see more on the donor side is, and this was true in my case, Realty Gift Fund is able to, within reason, accept gifts that work with the timing of the donor. In my case, I made the gift to Realty Gift Fund in late 2018, because that was for me a critical year that I needed the tax benefit. And even though that property wasn't going to be sold until sometime in 2019, looking at it strictly selfishly, that frankly was no longer my problem. That became Bruce's issue, and he ably disposed of the property a couple months later. But the point is, I was able to realize my tax deduction in the year 2018, which is when I needed it. So those are two not too obvious aspects of the many benefits, in addition to the donor's intent in helping the organizations they want, but that don't immediately jump out when one first starts thinking about this process.
Well, in our last segment of the show, we're going to really get into the details of why nonprofits don't take them, but why all of that is eliminated by using Realty Gift Fund and the Alliance. And for the property donors, I just want to mention to any of our real estate professional friends who might be thinking, well, this is nice, but I don't know anybody that has property to donate. Well, that's not true. Every human being in this country knows someone who is already planning to leave their primary residence to their church, or has that second home that they would donate if they knew about all these benefits, et cetera. And when we donate it to the nonprofit before it is sold, to your point, there are so many more tax benefits. So for example, that person who's already thinking, well, you know, when we pass away, we are going to leave our property to our church. Typically what happens is the property gets sold, capital gains is paid, et cetera, and then whatever's left that Uncle Sam didn't take, that's what goes to the church. And what we're saying is, if it's donated to a nonprofit before it is sold, then there's just a lot more money to spread around to all those who need it. So with the Alliance, as we are getting folks certified, we will teach you who in your current center of influence does have these properties, how to start a conversation with them. And then we're also going to talk about the 5 other places where you can find property owners who not only would donate the property, but would be grateful. I love the way that Bruce has been doing this for so many years. He brings a lot of new perspective to me. He says, Cammie, the real estate people, the real estate agents need to know they are not begging. They're not saying, will you please donate your property? Will you help the children? It's not about that. The people who donate their property do it gladly, gratefully, whether they're wanting to leave a legacy and be philanthropic, or whether they're wanting the tax implications. The fact is, you, real estate person, are doing them a favor by letting them know that this is an option. And also for the nonprofits. So, you know, right now we're talking about if a property donor donates a property, Realty Gift Fund sells it through the realtor that brought it to the table at a full commission. Thank you very much. Then all the nonprofit has to do is show up and smile, say thank you, and smile for the cameras as the PR starts. But the nonprofits could also implement their own campaign around this from the perspective of, you've already got 100 or 500 or 1,000 or 10,000 or 1,000,000 people that are already supporting you and showing up at your bake sales and participating in the barbecues and all that type of thing. There are people in there that if they knew that they could donate you property, instead of you begging for money, you could actually simply offer to help them. Now everybody's being helped. So we are on Unity Radio, 97.9 FM. We are having the honor of speaking with a very visionary property owner who has learned about the charitable gifting of real estate and all the benefits. Finally, this is a win-win-win for the real estate professional, the property owner, and the nonprofit. We'll be right back for the last segment of the show. Stay tuned.